everyone, welcome to Itsy Bitsy's live read of Dark Feathers by Natalia Reis. Prologue. Nyx. I am darkness. Darkness is all I know. It's what I do, what I breathe, what sustains me. I have no memory of a time before the darkness, and I refuse to wonder about it. Death and pain surround me from dusk until dawn. The screams of horror, cries of despair, yet nothing touches me. I am numb. I obey my master and stay alive. I don't remember why I want to live. I feel nothing and don't look forward to anything. I merely exist, a hollow shell of whatever I was before. A lost soul, they call me. I don't know who they are or why I remember the words and not the faces, but I don't care. I wake from someone's nightmare into my own. There is no light, no hope. All is dark. I am what my master made me, a creature of evil, a carrier of pain. In darkness I dwell, in darkness I am. Chapter 1. Plucking. Nyx. The shadows were longer now, but I was in no hurry. I had no reason to rush, nowhere to go. Crouched beside the trees, I waited, like a crow hovering over a dying creature. I lingered, still and silent. The street was busy as the suburban dwellers reached home to their families. Cars zoomed by, blurred and noisy, the reek of exhaust surrounding me in a toxic cloud. It didn't bother me. I would wait patiently until my target was ready for the plucking. "Why are you hiding there?" The voice startled me. Was she speaking to me? Not possible, and yet... "Well, what the fuck are you doing there?" The girl stared in my direction as if she could see me, her dark, inquiring eyes trained on mine. I glanced around me, searching for someone else she may be talking to, but there was no one near. Annoyed, I looked away from her, dismissing the fancy notion that she could actually see me. You're creeping me out, dude. I'm going to call the police." She took a phone from her coat pocket and began punching numbers. Crazy. Only crazy people talk to themselves. But I couldn't deny that nagging feeling that she could indeed see me. Could angels go crazy? My target appeared around the corner, his tall and thin body propelled by the urgency of the chase. Head turned back to where two policemen pursued him on foot. Blinded by fear, he jumped over the curb and directly in front of a speeding white van. The screeching of tires caught the attention of the crazy girl, who dropped her hands along her sides and yelled in horror as the vehicle crashed against the body of the runner. The momentum of the impact threw him a few feet up in the air, only to drop him seconds later in a heap of twisted arms and legs, blood pooling quickly around him. The girl ran toward the dead man, phone forgotten in her hand, a litany of "oh my gods" in a trail behind her. Crazy woman. I straightened up and prepared to do what I was there for. In one long sweeping motion, I unfurled my black wings and flew the short distance to the prostrated figure on the road. The man's soul was peaking already, hesitant and blurry as they normally were, still stunned by the sudden death. I wasted no time and reached out to grab him, my hands under his armpits. One sharp pull and his soul was freed from his lifeless body. "What do you think you're doing? He still has a pulse." The crazy girl, now kneeling beside the body, looked at me. "Don't take him yet." I almost dropped his soul. "You can see me?" My voice came out rough from lack of use. I couldn't remember the last time I'd spoken. Dark angels didn't speak to each other, and our masters were not great talkers either. She stood and looked up at me, not a bit scared or surprised. "Of course I can see you. Let the man go." Confused and not used to being addressed, I stalled for a moment. "He's dead." "Why are you taking him to the dark? What has he done?" I didn't have to answer because the two police officers chasing him arrived at the scene. The dark-haired girl looked away long enough for me to escape, soul in tow, up into the heavens. As I rose upward, I couldn't help but watch the mortal girl talk to the newly arrived men. How could she see me? No mortal had ever seen me before. Was that even possible? Before I vanished behind the first layer of clouds, I saw her lift her eyes in my direction, and something inside of me cracked. For the first time ever, I wished to be remembered, to be seen. Where was that coming from? And why was my cold heart quivering, longing for warmth? My world was not one for sentiment. Feelings were something I heard about but never experienced. At least not that I could remember. But then again, I didn't remember much. My days were a succession of tasks, mostly pluckings like this one, followed by a dreamless slumber. This reaction was unsettling, and the simple fact that I found it to be so was in itself upsetting. The girl's eyes had followed me all the way to the clouds. Not girl, woman. She was definitely a grown woman despite her size. I wasn't able to shake her from my thoughts. She was with me when I crossed the tar black walls, and still there as I dragged the now whimpering soul through the large dark foyer and into holding cells. Normally I wouldn't even hear the instant pleading of the plucked soul, but this time it was a burning hole inside me, an unpleasant tightening in my gut. "Shut up!" I yelled, unable to stand the distressing gnawing at my heart anymore. Several heads turned in my direction, surprised as much as I was by the sound of my voice. Dark angels normally existed with their eyes on the ground and their voices silent. I caught myself and tucked my chin to my head, pretending it wasn't me. But the tugging at my heart only grew stronger as the soul of the criminal I had weeped continued to beg for mercy. I whispered to him, "Mercy is not mine to give. You chose this path a long time ago. Now you must pay your dues." I had never spoken to a plucked soul, ever. What had come over me? What had the short, crazy woman done to me? After securing the soul in the forever containers, I needed to relate what happened to my master. It was my duty to let him know of any unusual occurrences, but I found myself stalling for time, slowing my pace, finding excuses to delay my arrival at his office. His workspace was not what humans would call an office. Like most rooms inside the dark fortress, his was dark with walls made of vicious black substance that reflected what went on between them. From the ceiling hung chains and shackles that matched those attached to the floor, where Asmodeus tortured souls, often entertaining himself and his closest servants. Not that I felt sorry for the tortured souls, but unlike most of the other angels, I didn't have an appetite for cruelty. The room was a familiar space, nevertheless, one where I found myself often toyed with, one I'd rather not enter or think about. Asmodeus didn't bother looking up as I walked in, my wings still unfurled and dragging on the ground behind me. "The world better be coming to an end," he growled, his eyes never leaving the silver dagger he was mysteriously honing a big rock. "Or you will regret having interrupted me." I fell to one knee, my head nearly hitting the floor as I bowed down in submission. A shiver went through me as I contemplated what he might do to me if he so pleased. I was not afraid of death. It was virtually impossible to kill an angel, but Asmodeus was famous for much more horrifying options. I had tasted his wrath more than once and had no wish to do it again. "Master, something odd happened during my last plucking." Much to my dismay, the words spilled out of my mouth in a weak and wavering stream. A nearby mortal saw me. His large eyes rose and trained on me, the instant fingers of fear tightening around my neck. "What is this you tell me? Did you forget to charm yourself on the way down?" Under the weight of his glare, I plunged even closer to the ground. "No, master, my charms were up and working. She was the only one who could see me, and—" My voice trailed off as I realized one other strange detail. My master growled louder, a sound that made my insides vibrate in contrast and terror. "And what?" He stood up and strode toward me. "Stupid fucking minion! And what?" She didn't seem surprised. I was collecting a soul. The words erupted from my mouth in a rush of syllables, all fighting for supremacy. I chanced a glance at Asmodeus, standing tall, dark, and threatening. For a moment I was frozen by the terrible beauty that was my master, his upset skin in stark contrast with his jet black wings he unfurled as he walked to me. Was that surprise on his face? If it was, he disguised it quickly. He stopped and cupped his chin. "No surprise? Maybe she thought you were in costume." I lowered my head again. She asked me not to take his soul. She knew who I was and what I was doing there. This was not the conversation I had wanted to have with the monster in charge of the Dark Fortress, but I had no choice. Better to tell him now than suffer the consequences of hiding the information. "Who was she?" His voice was barely audible, and that scared me more than anything else. "I don't know, master. She appeared suddenly out of nowhere." I didn't dare look up and meet his angry gaze, but there was no raging, no noise at all. Asmodeus was thinking. "Angel, you are to find her, follow her, and find out why she can see you." That was not what I was expecting at all. "You will disguise yourself as a mortal and be her shadow until you find out. We can't have mortals walking around seeing our angels." A knot formed in my throat, and I found it difficult to speak. "Yes, master." "Report to the Department of Intelligence for further directions." He was quiet, and I didn't move, not sure if I was being dismissed. "What the fuck are you waiting for? Go!" I rushed out of his office, confused and worried. What had I gotten myself into? Joan. "You guys are so cheesy. My big brother and his boyfriend were the cutest couple ever, but I was not about to tell them that. We had met at the mall in Portland to put a wish list together for their upcoming wedding, but they always seemed to be attracted to the silliest items that should never ever make an appearance in a wedding registry. That mini motorcycle is the stupidest thing on your already not stellar list. Pick something useful." Caleb pushed the glasses up his nose and grinned. "But we don't need anything. We have all we need, really." With a stunning smile, Sky pulled Caleb closer to his side and said, "We are all we need." They leaned their heads toward each other and kissed. My heart melted. I love these two goofy, star-eyed guys. "Ah, come on, guys. Have some decorum," I said, my words denying how I felt. So cheesy. "Let's go to Cakes R Us." In the 4 years since Sky had been reassigned as an earthbound angel and moved in with Caleb, he hadn't grown out of his passion for sugary treats. He ate sugar with gusto. You'd think he would be at least 300 pounds, but he was as slim and muscular as he was the first day they met. "One of the advantages of being an angel," he always said, "I'm in the mood for Napoleon." "You're always in the mood for decant pastries," I said, threading my arm through the loop of his. "Let's go. It's getting chilly." Winter was over, snow had finally melted away, and spring flowers were trying to break through the still half-frozen ground of the state of Maine, also known as the Icicle State. Well, by me, anyway. I had finally graduated college, a semester ahead of schedule. I was not particularly smart or keen on schoolwork, but I was impatient since witnessing my parents lose their lives in a blink of an eye and my brother almost follow suit. I was in a hurry to live my life. I had quickly grown tired of the parties and excess of college life and began taking extra classes to shrink the 4 years into something closer to 3. I was finally free from the tight class schedule and the papers and exam. I could breathe now. Thank you for listening to this portion.